Okay, welcome to the Personal Financial Literacy Professional Development video on Curriculum and Resources Overview. I'm Amy Lee with the Oklahoma Council on Economic Education. I serve as the Executive Director, and I get to be here with Brenda Chapman, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Brenda Chapman. I'm the Director of Social Studies at the State Department of Education, and I also am the Director of Personal Financial Literacy, so I get to do both things. And there's a lot of connections with those things, so I'm really happy to be partnering with Amy and the Council.
Very good. Yes, me too. Okay. Well, one of the things that we both feel like is really important is to show off how things are working with personal financial literacy. And as you're beginning to teach it, or maybe you've been teaching it for several years and are reviewing some of the curriculum and resources. But one of the stats, and there are many out there showing that it's working. This one is based more on in the classroom and what's happening in the classroom. However, as I do feel like behavior change is what we're after. But on this one, we're showing that when connected with C's resources and teacher training, that we're able to see an improvement in student learning and in classroom test results. So that's obviously a really important thing, and we want to see that personal financial literacy is working because it's so important that students understand that. So those are our standards, a brief overview of those that we have. And we do have, I always like to say that we have the strongest set of standards in the country. Not only do I like to say it, but I believe that it's true. We are really, in Oklahoma, we are doing quite well with our standards in Oklahoma. We're very relevant to what is going on. So I will now go over to our curriculum, the State Department of Education website, and that's the only website that I didn't have ready to go in my my screen. But now everybody can see just how to get to it whenever I'm looking for it. And I go to this website almost probably on a daily basis, but I like to just type in Oklahoma State Department of Education. I do feel like I'm on the spot now. And then just go straight to personal financial literacy. There it is. And it gets me straight to where I'm looking at. And I, yeah, on a daily basis, I probably go and just make sure that kind of checking on standards and pulling resources to make sure that that we're staying in line with what we need to be doing.
And if you're already on the State Department website, at the top of the page, there's some kind of categories. If you click educators, like if you get lost, and if you're on the main page and you click educators, you can go through and look at the subjects and also get there too. So just know that if you don't get to the page like this, you get to the main page, you can get there. Just look for educators and then personal financial literacy when you get all of the different subjects.
Great, great. Yes. So again, going over those standards there, and then over here under curriculum and record is PFL curriculum and teacher guides. And that's what we're going to be focused on a lot for our time together. And down here, and this is something that Brenda and I are in the process of updating. So know that really by the end of this school year, everything will be updated on here. And we're going through the process of getting everything moved over and updating the teacher lessons, the teacher presentations, and the teacher guides. And so that's kind of how this is set up, where there's actual lessons that can go directly to students, and then the teacher guide to give some more direction on how to execute this in the classroom, and then the teacher presentation, PowerPoint that that can go through and flows with the teacher guides. And so those are all helpful resources for teachers to use. I don't want to jump ahead, Brenda. Did you have anything that you wanted to point out or talk about?
No, I would just say if you notice they're set up by standard, and then there are lessons for each standard that cover the objectives. So it's really set up just as you're going through each standard. It's very easy to understand. And as you look through here, you'll notice that there's the student, and then there's the teacher guide too, so that the council's really worked hard on, here's the teacher version of it to kind of help you walk through there. So that's why there's several columns there for you to look at.
And we'll go ahead and pick one of these right now. We'll go, one of my favorites to go to in our state is gambling, since we are the only state in the country to have gambling. And that's also because it's also harder to find resources for gambling. So this is definitely the go-to place for our standards and finding the resources that are the most reliable for meeting the standards. So, and as you can see while we're looking at it, there's definitely different parts to each of these in the standards. So, looking at insurance or borrowing money is a great example. There's a lot of components to that. So if you were to pull a lesson from a different resource, and there's lots out there that are great, but they may not specifically meet the standards. That's something to really look out for and make sure that all the parts are being met. But let's kind of dive in. We'll start with the teacher's guide over on gambling and look at that. And again, these are going to be updated. So know that the look of this is going to be changing here, but where to go and how to find it is not going to change. So this goes over how to actually deliver the lesson. And of course, as things have changed significantly in education over the last year, this will also be updated to look at more of an online online learning platform as well, or variations on how teachers can look at that. So, so this goes through each of those and the objectives, the learning objectives, how to do a lesson procedure, and the different talking points of looking at gambling in this particular one. So again, yeah, how to look at that and when having that classroom discussion, whether that's a virtual classroom or an in-person classroom, but on societal cost, societal benefit, and how to go about doing that. So just an overview there. And here's a kind of a game that can be played, a true false gambling game, and teaching gambling. Okay, so I'm going to head back over. So now we'll look at the student lesson, and we'll look at gambling. We'll start with risky business. And this would be something that could be distributed to students, whether that's electronically or on their Google Drive, or however is you have your class set up. But going through what are the odds is this particular one, the financial literacy vocabulary that is relevant to this standard and this part of the standard. And then a student going through the lesson and kind of reviewing, and this all matches back up to what the teacher guide has in their teacher guide. This one goes over overall odds of winning a prize and understanding that risk versus reward. So I'll stop there in case people are getting dizzy. But so just kind of a layout there. And I'll go back, and then I'll go and then the presentation is there, and those are, I'll just go ahead and say those are really in need of an update. So those will be updated. Don't even think I'm going to open it, because those have been from when it was first passed in 2008. So we're very excited to get those updated, and seems to be a very helpful resource that we get asked about a lot from teachers. So we're glad to do that. So those will be found there, can be found there, and they'll be updated here in the next few months. Yes. So that's kind of an overview of where to find those resources that are specific to our standards, and with the State Department of Education that we as in the Council on Economic Education gets to partner with the State Department of Education on.
If you notice at the very top of this page, these are not online modules in the sense that the kids get on and they work through it and it grades for you, like maybe an online module will be, but it is everything you would need to do the lessons, and the students could do the lessons through there. And so for that reason, we don't publish this answer key, because we have some students that come on here and work through the activities and then their teachers grading it. So we don't put the answers on there. But if you click on my name up there, you can email me and I will send you the answers to the answer sheet. So just know that the reason why we don't put them on there is because there are some, especially at Career Tech, where the students are working through this, that they're working through the lessons, maybe asynchronously from their teacher, and you don't want to have the answers there for them, so they just fill it in. So they are able to be used online, but they're not an online module where the kids can type in and it will grade for you. So just know that. And that's why the answer at the sheet is at the top.
Okay, I'll go back over to our presentation here, and yeah, very important to know that that's the most reliable curriculum to meet state standards. I always recommend that if you're a brand new teacher teaching personal finance, you may not be a brand new teacher. Many teachers have been teaching for many years and then get assigned personal finance. So, but the State Department curriculum is definitely the best place to start. And then as you see fit, then you can add other resources on top of that. And so moving on to other resources, there is an abundance of resources out there. And that's important to know because it can get really overwhelming how much is out there and what's out there. And a lot of them will, especially the for-profit options, will often say, we meet the standards and we meet the Oklahoma standards. But the really important point is that you need to know is, do they meet all the standards? And so we get a lot of calls at our office. I am quite sure that Brenda does too, asking or getting to the end of the semester and realizing that the certain resource that they used doesn't meet all the standards. It meets some of them and maybe 9 of the 14 standards, but not all of them. And so that's, I encourage that if you're using a different option to really ask for a state correlation guide and to find out how they meet it and to make sure. And but there are really great resources to weave in and to what you're doing.
And
so
one more point to what Amy was saying is that there are tons of resources out there, but whenever we do, when the superintendent does student panels every year at Engage OK, one of the couple of things they say is, well, we really wish we'd learned how to fill out a tax form, or we really wish we would learn how to do a car loan or something, or a student loan. Because on some of the resources you have that are national, the kids aren't actually doing a tax return, or they're not actually filling out an application for something. They might be playing a game where they apply for something, but do they really apply and know all the documents they need? Or do they really take a sample paycheck and go and fill out a tax form so they know what to do? So one of the things about mixing them together is, if you're using the State Department curriculum and doing some hands-on things, you could have them actually take a paycheck and go through a tax form, where they might not do that on the resource, even though the resource is great and will explain a lot about taxes. It might not have them fill it out. So that's kind of my plug for using both, using the resources that are out there, our curriculum and the standards all together, so that the kids are doing some hands-on things. Because like Amy said at the top, we're trying to build those skills where they change behaviors. And those are some of the things you have to do hands-on with that.
Mm-hmm. But one of the first resources that I'd like to show you is actually not a curriculum, but it's just a place to go to. This is the Council on Economic Education has this website, and it's specifically for teachers teaching the 14 standards of personal finance. And so it's moneyisok.org is where you can go for this. And that's where we have all of the standards. You can go and click on the any of these buttons and it takes you to that standard. So I'll click on earning an income. So you can kind of look at that. At the top, we have all of the direct link to the State Department of Education resources, because again, that's the most reliable. And then down here, you can find other resources and helpful links in teaching that. even though even these though aren't directly, it says right here which standards they're going to meet and help directly meet, but these are a good layering a way to find some layering resources and activities. Um, I'm going to go back to the homepage of this because I also wanted to show you another resource. This right here is a personal financial literacy standards printable. So if you want to have your own guide of what all the standards are with a visual, a lot of teachers are giving this to their students at the beginning to kind of give them an overview. So as a second page, we need to be teaching personal financial literacy. So Money is okay is a great resource to check out and just kind of have flagged. We also have our professional development. We post that ones that'll be upcoming that we're doing. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one, which is the Federal Reserve and their site, federalreserveeducation.org. Federal Reserve has an incredible staff right in Oklahoma City. We have our own branch office in Oklahoma with great gals, Leslie and Pam, that are ready to help with their resources in teaching personal finance and economics. This website, however, is kind of a clearinghouse for the entire country and all of the resources that are there. So you can go on here and look for something you're teaching. Maybe you're on the banking standard, and you can look up banking bankruptcy lesson. That's a great one in grades 9 through 12 for teaching bankruptcy. So they've got a great set of resources with really high quality lessons and interaction. If you're not already connected with the Fed, definitely get connected with the Fed because they really want to connect with educators in our state. I'll move on to, actually, I'm going to move to Econ EdLink. And this is, most personal finance teachers are teaching other classes as well. This is a great resource for all teachers, but especially if you are connecting government and personal financial literacy, this would be a great place to go. I'm going to go over to classroom resources and browse by grade level is how I'm going to look at this. Again, we're at Econ EdLink. And this is the Council on Economic Education. This is our national website and kind of a clearinghouse for all of the information. So we are going to go to, I'm going to say that we are looking for an activity, and you can see all the different subjects you could be searching for, but of course we're going to be looking for personal finance, and I'll go ahead and do all grades for now, so it'll pick up middle school and high school. And so this pulls up all sorts of resources that meet what we just searched for. And lots of fun resources there, but you can look for an article, calculators, lessons, professional development on demand or future upcoming. So this is another great resource to go to as Econ EdLink for any class that you're teaching, especially in social studies. I'm going to go over to Next Gen Personal Finance, another great resource with lots of interactive activities that they have. We'll check onto curriculum, and let's, since that's a little bit different, we'll go to their Nearpod collection. Is that where you wanted to go, Brenda? But they have lots of resources, but this is definitely a good, and they have it kind of laid out again, and whether it's a 9-week course you're teaching or a semester course. And we know that some districts have even less time than that. And so that's challenging. So that's something that we're here to help with as well, if you have less time than that. But you can go kind of look at different ways to look at that. Let's check out Teens and Taxes. I think I've looked at that recently and what they have there. And NextGen also has lots of professional development that they offer, and it looks like you need to sign in before you go check that out. But NextGen is definitely a great resource to check out that is has a lot of relevant topics.
And
The
it's free to join. You just have to sign up. It's kind of like a lot of educational websites. You just have to sign up, but it's free.
Yeah, and I may go back and just kind of see. I guess all Nearpod things. So we'll let's see if we can find one more thing before I head off of that, just so we can show off a lesson or activity. So things we'll just right there now. NextGen is definitely a great one to connect with. You can kind of see some more things there. And the other one, and these are not all of them. And as we're going through our kind of recording series, Brenda and I are going to be showing off several different options and especially connections and resources within our state that you can be connecting with. But these are just a handful of good ones to get started with. I wanted to show you also Foolproof is another great one. And Foolproof is great for a lot of reasons, and Weoki is one of the credit unions that sponsors this free program to educators. So I went to the Weoki website, and then now I'm going to go to Continue to Foolproof Consumer Education. And they have it's a whole online program that you can do that meets the standards. And so you can go there and you can have students, whether you want to do one module or all of the modules, there's a lot of flexibility there. One of the other great ways to use this is if you have a student that was maybe absent for a couple weeks or a week and they missed a couple of these standards, it's a great way to get them connected or caught back up if it's something that was maybe hard to replicate. That's one of the great resources or ways to use Foolproof, but that's a great program and very interactive. But we do recommend that it's not just used. You need to add in other instruction in order to make that program effective. So those are a few of the resources of many. And I would say that's one of the most challenging parts to teaching personal finances. There's so many resources that are out there, and that can get overwhelming with what meets the standards and what doesn't. And so we're definitely here to help you out with navigating that. And we will continue to be talking about different resources and ways that you can connect with the with personal finance standards and resources. So let's see, I'll go back to the presentation. So before we move on to that, I'll click back so we don't jump ahead. Any other thoughts that you want to add, Brenda?
Once again, I thought what Amy said is very valuable. Probably one resource isn't going to get everything you need out of the standards for your students. And so the tricky thing is finding all of those pieces that go together. And as you teach it, you will learn what resources are easier for this standard or that standard. And so starting with the state curriculum that the council has really developed with the standards, and then using those resources to fill in for the curriculum and add to the curriculum. And there's lots of free things out there. And like Amy said, you just have to go out and try some of them. But if you start with the curriculum first and then add to it, you'll always have enough to get all of those objectives in that you need.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so that concludes our time together, and we would love to recognize this special time that we just spent together, and I would love to hear from you. So I have my email down there and some response questions, and if you as a viewer would like to send responses to these questions, I would love to enter you into, we have a quarterly gift card drawing that we have donated gift cards, and it varies every time, but you usually have quite a bit that we can give out each quarter. We'll enter you into that drawing, and then also send you a professional development certificate, and we'll add you to our PFL newsletter so that you can receive updates and new lessons, new or updated lessons. We're constantly updating to new teaching needs, and would love to connect with you in that way. So and I think most of all, Brenda and I are here to help and to serve you. It can be a lot to navigate. We have like I said, we have some of the best set of standards in the country, but that also means they're kind of tough to teach, especially if a teacher's been assigned it that has no background or doesn't feel. It really doesn't matter what your background is. It's a tough set of standards to teach. So we are here to help you and to help you navigate that. That's Brenda's contact information, and here's my contact information. But we want to help serve you and guide you, and whatever we can do to help you teach this, especially if you were, we get many calls from teachers that were just assigned teaching personal finance, and we definitely want to hear from you and connect with you. So
thank you for joining us for our curriculum overview, and we're going to have lots of other chances for you to join us on very specific things. We have one video about an overview of the standards and where you can find some forms also. So check us out and keep watching us for some more ways to learn about financial literacy. Thanks.